Good evening and a very warm welcome to News on National Television. My name is Clifford Richards.
And I'm Shainali. Let's have a look at the headlines first.
The IMF praises Sri Lanka for its progress achieved in the economic restructuring process. Japanese Finance Minister also commends Sri Lanka's economic progress. Princess Anne and the UK delegation will leave the country tonight. 30 varieties of shortage medicines will be provided to the Medical Supplies Division within this month. Nayana Vasalatilaka was appointed to Parliament, replacing Chaminda Vijayasiri. Airstrikes to Houthi strongholds in Yemen.
On to those stories and others in detail, and your top story for tonight is IMF applauds the country's significant economic reforms.
Well, the IMF Executive Board of Directors applauded Sri Lanka's courage in publishing the governance diagnostic, a first in Asia, they say, and also during a meeting with President Ranil Wickremesinghe, Sri Lankan authorities and the International Monetary Fund yesterday, the IMF congratulated the country on completing the first review under its program. The IMF commended Sri Lanka's partnership on capacity development, emphasizing the importance of enhancing the skills of the civil service of the success of the ongoing reforms. The program aims to build capacity in the civil service, crucial for the implementation of reforms. As the two-week mission unfolds, further discussions between Sri Lankan authorities and the IMF are expected to delve deeper into these key areas, providing a comprehensive overview of the progress and challenges in Sri Lanka's economic reform journey.
Past few months we can use two words, very satisfactory, but we have far more to go ahead. In regard to laws, we have only one bottleneck, that is we have very few personnel who are involved in drafting laws, and I think we may be having about 30 or 40 unless we find some ways of getting contracting out to some of the retired people or people abroad. So that's one issue. We have the bottleneck. As far as the Anti-Corruption Commission is concerned, they are going ahead. Actually, they had agreed on the principles on selections, but I think they were arguing on many issues around it. So there are about 2 or 3 changes, not on the criteria, but on some of the other matters. The tourism and Christmas has helped I think, to generate more jobs. And we hope we'll be able to get more tourists in the coming year. Only other thing is elections, and the problem there is that every party says they are going to change all this and they'll negotiate with the IMF.
Well, I think first off I should start by congratulating on completing the first review under the IMF program. The program really starts on a positive note and is off to a good start, which I think is great news. There was, at the executive board meeting, directors really recognized the difficult reforms that you have embarked upon and what they mean with respect to the population domestically. So there was full acknowledgement of that by the international community. For example, they pointed out the governance diagnostic to first of all agree to do it as the first one in Asia and then to publish it was actually quite courageous, and so they congratulated the authorities on that. So there was strong recognition on that as well as all the other reforms. So congratulations. I think it really shows that you're tackling this extremely severe crisis with all the vigor that is needed in order to have Sri Lanka emerge from the crisis. I think there are very encouraging signs that the program is beginning to work, that the economy is stabilizing. So there's, of course, all the signs with respect to sort of the policy-related variables so in the fiscal area with respect to revenue collection. In fact, we just had a meeting a few hours ago that showed very encouraging numbers that basically highlight that the policies that you implemented, beginning from to be reached staff level agreement in the second half of 2022, that those policies are working, that they have the intended effect, that you're collecting the revenue that's needed in order to address the cause of the crisis. So that really is very good news. And it seems like there's a positive surprise in all of this, which will go a long way to build confidence with the international community, with official creditors, with private creditors. And that is very important. I think that will really sort of highlight the seriousness with which the authorities. Other positive news, inflation has come down so significantly because of the efforts that the authorities have undertaken with respect to monetary policy and with respect to scaling back monetary financing. So that really is another great achievement that was highlighted, amongst many others. The increase in reserves, we are getting positive signs that is working well. The governance reforms have begun, so I think these are all positive signs. And in fact, we are now seeing in the third quarter positive economic growth.
Moving on, the Japanese Finance Minister Shunichi Suzuki met Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe today. The Japanese Finance Minister expressed strong admiration for and also denoting significant improvements in Sri Lanka's economy.
And the President Ranil Wickremesinghe expressed profound appreciation for Japan's lead role in addressing Sri Lanka's debt issues.
Me again thank your Prime Minister and yourself for all the help that has been given to Sri Lanka. Without your help of Japan, I don't think we would have been able to be in this position today. So I'd like, on behalf of my country, again to thank Japan, the Prime Minister and yourself personally for the help you have given us, which enabled us to overcome the crisis in such a short time. This is actually a reflection of the deep relationship that exists between our two countries. A relationship which we should now make use of to deepen further. The outlook of Japan and Sri Lanka on many questions are similar. And in regard to the Indian Ocean, we are committed to the freedom of navigation and an Indian Ocean free of big power rivalry. In the context of today's geopolitics, we look for much closer maritime security cooperation between Japan and Sri Lanka. We are also now committed not merely to restructure the debt and for stabilization, but we realize that Sri Lanka needs a new economy, an economy that is competitive, an economy that is a green economy, an economy that's a digital economy, and an economy that is export oriented, so that we can have the balance of trade in favor of our country. I hope our discussions will lay the foundation then for the closer cooperation between our two countries. We are looking at concluding the debt restructuring, if possible, within about this quarter. We are also making every effort to conclude the MOUs as soon as possible. As far as the Japanese bilateral economic relations are concerned, we have to look at the existing yen loans, and we can provide a schedule of how outstanding payments are to be made. And then we look at the other existing projects that have been started here. And then we get on to the next step. But what the issue that I'd like to raise is, while we are dealing with debt reconstruction, whether parallelly we can start talks on the yen loans and the future programs. I also agree, let's first finalize the outstanding payments and the ongoing projects. Then you can look at new projects. But there is one issue on which I would like clarification on the projects which come in between. These are the projects that were agreed to between about 2017 and 2019, especially under late Prime Minister Abe, and then it was not proceeded by the previous government. There is the LRT program, of course. In regard to that, there is an initial outstanding payment we have to make. Secondly is the Central Expressway, which we have been discussing, and also the extensions of that. Thirdly, the East Terminal, which is a question of a Japanese company being involved, coming there together with any other foreign partners they want. And then the second LNG plant in Keravalapitia. We don't intend to discuss those in length or in detail, but some indication of what you want to go ahead and what you will not will be helpful to us in our future plan. As also the technical help and JICA's role in planning the Candy City. So with these, let us now continue the dialogue and build on a much stronger foundation between our two countries. This is why that we have even looked in the medium term or whenever possible of joining the RCEP, and this is why Sri Lanka is looking forward to have building a highly competitive economy which will integrate us with the other economies in the region. I think at last time I was in Tokyo, we discussed of how we cooperate on digital transformation. So we are going ahead, and we are also giving, in this budget I have set aside money for the first time on artificial intelligence. I am sure we can cooperate with, exchange with Japan and get your help in these technical matters. But this will give us a much stronger basis of cooperation.
それによりまして昨年12月に IMF 支援プログラムの一次レビューが承認されたことを私どもとして歓迎をいたします。
Well, Sri Lanka's economic policies are moving in the right direction, and we owe you, Your Excellency, a great deal for your leadership in putting the economic policies of your country in the right direction. I welcome this economic implementation of the economic policies in the right direction, which led to the approval of the first review of the IMF program last December, and I look to continued steady implementation of economic, fiscal, and governance reforms based on the program. With regards to the debt restructuring, which is an essential element in the implementation of the IMF program, I am pleased that although it has been a difficult process, an agreement in principle was reached within a short period of time, about half a year since the launch of the official creditors committee. Meanwhile, the process ahead will be crucial, including our upcoming consultations on the MOU. Well, one thing I would like to emphasize is that we need Sri Lanka to reach a prompt agreement with creditors outside the OCC, such as with China and with private creditors on comparative restructuring terms and conditions. At the same time, as per the commitment made by Your Excellency back in March last year, it is essential that transparency and comparability are secured. I ask you to ensure timely and appropriate sharing of information with the OCC regarding the status of negotiations with creditors outside the OCC and on their debt restructuring terms and conditions. Well, thank you very much, Your Excellency. I am very much impressed that your economy has improved quite significantly. I mean, I have been looking at the Sri Lankan economic indicators, looking at GDP, looking at inflation number coming down quite significantly. I realize that there has been a significant improvement in your economic situation. So I believe this is due to your strong leadership, and I have much respect for the leadership that you have demonstrated.
Her Highness Princess Anne and the UK royal delegations will leave the country tonight. The delegations met President yesterday and then engaged in a tour in the northern province as well. Well, she visited several important premises, including the Jaffna Public Library. Princess Anne and the delegation, including her spouse, Vice Admiral Timothy Lawrence, were airlifted to the Navanture public grounds in Jaffna by a special helicopter belonging to the Sri Lanka Air Force. The delegations were warmly welcomed by the Governor of the Northern Province, PSM Charles. She expressed her gratitude to Princess Anne and held a mutual discussion as well. Later, the delegations visited the Jaffna Public Library and other places as well. Princess Anne and her husband also visited the Vajrapillai Kovil in Bambalapitiya today. Later, the delegations also visited the British Council in Bambalapitiya.
And for more news here at home, the United States and United Kingdom airstrikes targeting the Houthis in Yemen were an act of self-defense, British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak says this afternoon.
Well, the Iranian-backed Houthi militants warned that they would retaliate after US and UK launched strikes against the group in Yemen. Well, the US strikes were a response to the Houthis' attacks on commercial vessels in the Red Sea, which have effectively closed one of the world's main trade routes to most container ships. The escalation comes as world leaders try to keep the Israel-Hamas war from spilling into a wider regional conflict involving Iran's proxies, including Houthis and Hezbollah in Lebanon. In a statement on the latest attack, British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak noted the United Nations Security Council resolution that condemned Houthis' attacks in the Red Sea, saying that the states have a right to self-defense and his country, along with the United States, have acted in self-defense. Sunak said Houthi attacks were risking innocent lives, disrupting the global economy and also destabilizing the region. US coalition forces hit more than 60 targets and 16 Houthi militant locations in Yemen, Air Force said. And we are now going to talk a little more detail about this crisis, which has, been the latest brew up, and everyone was in speculation that there'll be a kind of a spillover of the Israeli-Hamas conflict into a more regional conflict, and now another conflict is brewing in the region. And to talk a little more about that, we have ChannelEye Rupavahini's International Affairs Analyst Prasad Dodangurage. Thank you very much for joining us on the news. Mr. Prasad, tell us, of course, the British Prime Minister says he justifies this attack in coalition with the US, and he says it's necessary, proportionate and targeted to in view of self-defense. What do you see of the foreseeable future in this brewing up?
Yes, Clifford. Now, first, let's take the statement made by British Prime Minister. Now, according to his statement, if we go through the lines in between, we can see he tried to highlight that this attack was not an prolonged offensive. He says it's an act of self-defense, and he justified these attacks, saying that international community must protect the sea lanes, international sea routes, as well as the shipping lanes in order to maintain the global economic stability. That's his main, the wording of his statement. So we can see that even UK and United States, they are trying to highlight this attack as some kind of a measurable thing, not a prolonged one, not a very extensive war effort, but it's an act against, it's an act to avoid Houthi attacks in this region. However, the Houthis now, they are the main fear is that tit-for-tat attacks, because Houthis are vowing to retaliate. They say both
the US and the UK will have to face the consequences,
and they will not cease their attacks on commercial ships. Once again, they are saying that they are going to continue their attacks on ships sailing to Israel, but since late November, we saw not only the ships sailing towards Israel, the other commercial ships were also attacked by Houthis, and according to various international reports, there were a number of attacks, some more than 70 attacks targeting 25 commercial ships in this region, and it's a major threat to the international shipping industry, because now most of the commercial ships now they are not taking the the common route, Red Sea, Suez Canal route. Now they are sailing around the African continent.
Big detour.
Yeah, escalating the most. I mean, now everything goes high because the insurance claims and the fuel, everything. So it's a great problem. But as you mentioned, Clifford, this is byproduct of this Red Sea war. Is a byproduct of Gaza-Israel conflict, because Houthis, they clearly mentioned that they are supporting Hamas as that's the way that they are showing their support to Hamas, and they are going to continue these attacks until the Israel attacks on Gaza are ceased.
Suspended.
Yeah, that's the main thing. Now the main both Houthis and Hamas as well as Hezbollah, they are linked to, according to the international defense reports, they are linked to Iran. So all eyes are on Iran's action. So far, Iran condemned these attacks. However, and they mentioned that they are going to send a warship into the region. At the same time, we don't see much provocative actions from Iran. So at the moment, Clifford, we don't see a very high escalation, but there is a threat. Yeah, inevitable threat is looming in this region.
Right. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. That was the International Affairs Analyst Prasad Duramgurage. Thank you very much for your analysis. Thank you very much. Well, this is national television, and from that, topping international story, we are now getting back to local stories in a moment.
Moving on, like you said, Clifford, we have Health Minister Ramesh Patirana told the Parliament today that about 30 varieties of medicine out of 60 varieties of shortage drugs will be supplied within this month. And measures have been taken to purchase such deficient medicines even from the private sector. And necessary funds will be given to major hospitals. And meanwhile, Nayana Vasathilaka was sworn in at Parliament today. Nayana Vasathilaka was appointed to the parliamentary seat that was vacant by a resignation of Bandula District SJB parliamentarian Chamida Vijayasiri. He obtained 31,307 preferential votes from the Badul 20. SJB parliamentarian SM Marikar says that the Health Ministry has to pay over 13 billion rupees to medical suppliers. That money should also be paid from the funds allocated this year. About 750 varieties of medicines are required to maintain hospitals in the island. Health Minister Dr. Ramesh Patirana says that the entire need of essential medicine are 850 varieties. There is a shortage of about 60 varieties at the Medical Supply Division, and out of the amount 30 varieties will be given within this month. Funds have also been granted to each major hospital to purchase essential items from the private sector. A sum of 170 billion rupees has been allocated for this year. In this connection, the government charges taxes to provide free health education and other services. Tax money is used to purchase essential items such as medicines.
A ceremony to distribute appointment letters for administrative Grama Niladaris were held at the temple trees today. It has been organized under the patronage of Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena. State Minister Ashoka Priyantha, Secretary to the Prime Minister Anuruddha Dissanayake, Secretary to the Minister of Public Administration Pradeep Yasaratna, and the Colombo District Secretary KG Vijayasiri and many others were present on this occasion. Addressing the gathering, the Prime Minister says that the public service is the backbone of the country. Public servants are the stakeholders who are responsible to steer the country forward. The Premier requested the new administrative Grama Niladaris to be committed to the maximum to serve the people.
Moving on, Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena says that whatever the politicians expressed, a government should be ruled based on statistics. The minister states that in the face of present economic challenges, not any recruitments will be made during the next 3 years. The minister made these remarks participating in a ceremony to distribute appointments to some employees of the Sri Lanka Transport Board. It was held at the Ministry of Transport and Highways today. A group of new drivers and conductors were given appointments. Several others who lost their jobs due to various reasons were also reinforced in the service after considering their appeals. Sri Lanka Transport Board did not strike even a single day during the past period. If any depot starts a strike, it will be closed as soon as possible. There will be no problem since there are sufficient amount of private buses in the country. The SLTB is to introduce a QR digital system within the next 2 months. Unless the Transport Board shows profits, it will have to be closed, disregarding the matter whoever rules the country. The country has to pay the debt obtained from foreign countries. Politicians can relate any tales or stories, but a government should be ruled based on statistics.
863 more suspects have been arrested yesterday under the Yukti operation, and the police have conducted 872 raids so far under this operation. 24 suspects taken over into custody yesterday, and they'll be detained under special orders for further questioning.
Police checked long-distance buses along the high-level road early this morning at Hangwal area. A passenger was arrested from the Ampara-Colombo long-distance bus with over 2 kilos of cannabis in his possession. It has been revealed that this suspect had transported cannabis from Thanamalvilla to Colombo for a long period. The Middeniya police have discovered a cannabis cultivation of about 1 acre from Dambithalab area. 2 suspects have also been taken into custody. The Ratnapura police conducted vehicle checkups throughout today. A public awareness campaign was also carried out, and stickers with messages to eradicate the drug menace were pasted on the vehicles.
And let's take a look at local news items in brief. Colombo Fourth Magistrate Court today issued an order banning leaving the country for Mahinda Kodituaku, who appears as a bodhisattva. This order was issued after considering the facts presented by the Deputy Solicitor General on behalf of the Computer Division of the CIT. The courts accepted the request made by the Deputy Solicitor General and order to call up a report of bank accounts belonging to the suspects. 123rd British anniversary of pioneer leader of leftist movement and father of Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena, late Philip Gunawardena, was commemorated yesterday. The ceremony was held at the Philip Gunawardena Monument premises located at Borlugoda in Koskama. Prime Minister and a group of people were presented at the ceremony. Funeral of the former officer of Sri Lanka Air Force Airlines late Y.T. Samarasinghe will be held at the Thalangama crematorium. He was 89 years at the time of death. His remains are now lying at Mahinda Panagoda Parlour in Thalangama. Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena paid his last respect to late Y.T. Samarasinghe today. Chairman of the Salarasi, Dr. Prasad Samarasinghe, is the third son of late Y.T. Samarasinghe. A 48-year-old person named Mohammad Saruk Inamul Hassan was chopped to death in a house at Matis Lane in Keselwatta. The victim is reported to be a suspect of a murder case and later acquitted by the courts. It was also reported that close allies of underworld gang leader Keselwatta Danuk have committed this murder.
Well, that's news at home. We take a short break and we'll be back with the international stories shortly.
Welcome back after the break, and for news away from home, foreign media reports that a huge ancient city has been found in the Amazon, hidden for thousands of years by lush vegetation. The houses and plazas in the Upano area in eastern Ecuador were connected by an astounding network of roads and canals. The area lies in the shadow of a volcano and created rich local soils, but also may have led to the destruction of the society. According to archaeologists, the city was built around 2,500 years ago, and people lived there for up to 1,000 years. It is difficult to accurately estimate how many people lived there at any one time. But scientists say it is certainly in the 10,000s, if not 100,000s.
Prima Kutumi, Fantamai.
Welcome back to the news, and we are now moving on to sports news, and we have some very encouraging news for Sri Lankan cricket fans, because Sri Lanka clinched the 3-match ODI series against Zimbabwe 2-0 with an 8-wicket victory in the final match. Well, it was played at the R. Premadasa grounds in Colombo.
Winning the toss, Zimbabwe decided to bat first. Sri Lanka team has made 2 changes in this match. Accordingly, Siobhan Daniels had the chance of ODI debut, and Wanidu Hasaranga, who did not play the first 2 matches, was included for this match. The match was disrupted by rain when Zimbabwe were 40 for no loss in 7.4 overs. Again, the match resumed, restricting the innings 43 overs. Rain again disturbed the match, and when Zimbabwe were 48 for 3 wickets in 11.5 overs, later the match recommenced, restricting the inning to 27 overs. Zimbabwe could not only score 96 runs all out in 22.5 overs, claiming his best figures. Wanidu Hasaranga claimed 7 Zimbabwe wickets for 19 runs in 5.5 overs. It is the 5th best bowling figures recorded in an ODI history. Sri Lanka passed the victory target in 16.4 overs, only for the loss of 2 wickets. Kusal Mendes not out 66. Wanidu Hasaranga was named man of the match, while Janit Lianage became the man of the series.
To the opposite side.
No man's land. Oh, it's Madhu Shankar. Correction, Dushman Ambani. And looks like that's the 7th. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Best figures for Wanidu Hasaranga. His previous best was 6 for 24 against UAE. Beautiful. Benatish should have been on the front. Deflect that. That brings up a half century for Sri Lanka. It was very, very impressive. Kusal Mendes making sure the smiles are out once again for the Sri Lankans. That winning feeling.
Wanidu Hasaranga says that he's very happy about his performance, since he could achieve the victory in lapse of about 6 months of play due to his injury. Sri Lanka team won the series with confidence and team spirit. Compared to the first 2 matches, there were more visitors for the 3rd match. Wanidu Hasaranga requests the cricket fans to encourage and cheer the team both in victory and also defeat.
Prima Kutumi, Fantamai.
Well, that's it on the news, and that was definitely a morale booster for cricketers and also cricket lovers as well. On that note, we end the news. Do enjoy the rest of the programs. Take care. And together with Hesha, this is Clifford wishing you a good night.